First of all, give us a sense of why this state of affairs has come about, to what these regulations what regulations have to be fulfilled to actually stay in India, as it were.
Right. Thanks for having me on the show. I think, to answer your question, I think the entire origination of this localization was primarily from the perspective to keep the data here from an Indian citizen's perspective, also from coming from where fraud's happening, increase in the number of frauds because there was a rise in the digital transactions in the country, and having data localized would just mean giving unfettered access to the regulators in case of an investigation in that sense.
So, Shinde, I mean, what does it actually mean in total here? What is the message that is being sent by the Reserve Bank and just generally regulators with this?
I think the regulation is pretty clear in terms of what needs to be what data needs to be localized. What is the time and the duration it needs to be localized if the data processing happens outside the country. And that is only pertaining to the data of Indian citizens. And what are the measures? Now, there is a difference in the way the regulatory guidelines and the mandate of data localization is to how the payment system operators are interpreting it, right? And there is a gap also because different payment system companies and operators have different technical IT architecture, whether it is globally or whether it is in India.
We're talking as well, Rish was asking about the RBI's message here to foreign payment companies, but what does it mean as well for global firms' interest in this space and whether or not that could be hampered?
I don't think it will be hampered in any way because I think the regulation is, while there could be more details that could be put in terms of what data, what time duration. So if a transaction happens overseas, and if there is information/data of an Indian citizen, what is the time duration by when the data needs to be purged, from the foreign systems and got back to the Indian systems, or a mirror copy has to be got into the Indian systems. So while all those regulatory requirements are pretty clear, and RBI has also been discussing this with some of the operators, with some of the companies, some of the global banks, in terms of what needs to be done, when it comes to compliance. I think while some of these organizations and global organizations will start to comply, things will get even more clear as to what is the process that is required to comply to the data localization requirements.
And we look at compliance. How does this kind of compare to China's policy?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at data localization as a topic, I think every country, including the likes of China, have it to some extent put in regulations where when it comes to having a localized or a very firewalled kind of a environment from a data perspective, and this is not new, if we have to look at it that way, but increasingly, and I think given the rise of privacy regulations in every country and every region, this is soon going to become important, and others will follow who do not have a localization sort of requirement. I mean, as we move on to the cloud, the data gets dispersed across geographies and across locations. So there will be an effort and a move to localize some of these contents, at the same time utilizing the power of cloud, and distributed networks in that sense.
Kartik, Kartik, I want to get a sense here also when you look at what's going on. I mean, what does it mean for global payments companies who want to be in the payment space there in India? Is it just too big a country to ignore and they just have to suck it up at the end of the day? But ultimately also, this does give Visa a bit of a clear run, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Visa has complied to my best knowledge, and I think from a global payments player's perspective, I don't think they should be worried if that was a question, Rashad. I think what they need to be wary of is how they are, and this is particularly from a new entrant perspective, right? So for a new entrant, they know that these are the localization requirements. What is required for us to look at what kind of data are we storing in India or overseas, and how should the transaction flow be? So if it's a cross-border payment or if it's a local payment that's happening, what are the guidelines that are there? And designing it right from day one, I think will definitely be an easier journey.